All right, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Will you please rise and join me in the pledge to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, no actions were taken in closed session. Let the record show that Trustee Devine, Trustee Cardona, Trustee Barnes, and Trustee Deleuze are present. I will now entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we'll move on to communications and public comment. Members of the public may address the Board of Trustees regarding any special board meeting agenda item during board consideration of that item. Please note that if you wish to address the Board of Trustees on an agenda item, you should do so when that specific item is called by the board. To comment in person, fill out a request to be heard card and give it to our board assistant. Your name will be called during public comment on that agenda item. During that specific agenda item. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. To comment online via Simply Gamut meetings, enter your name and email address. The board assistant will provide your comment to the board. Also, if you'd like to comment via YouTube, you can do so by typing your comment in the live chat. And once again, the board assistant will share your comment with the board as appropriate. Now we'll move on to public comment. Now, this is an opportunity to address the board on items that are not on the agenda. Please note that because it is not an agendized item, we are not allowed to address that specific item. But do know that we do hear you, we do receive your comments, and we will do what we can when we can in order to address your concerns or comments. And with that, we have one public comment. And this is from a parent, Nicole Johnson.
First off, I want to appreciate your guys' time tonight and hearing me out. Good evening, board president and trustees. My name is Nicole Johnson. My student attends Glenwood Elementary School and has been in the START program. I'm here tonight regarding serious concerns regarding the handle of a matter involving my child in the Sacramento START after school program operating at Glenwood Elementary School. According to information that was provided to me after the incident occurred, there were incidences that were handled, incidents that took place with my child with extreme lacks of transparency. The incident is, I'm getting all of this information after the fact, but had allegedly happened on May 8th. I was notified on May 11th. Once I was aware of the concerns, I had started to request clarification and transparency in regards to what had happened. What was told to me was very vague. Things like psychological abuse, emotional abuse, cyberbullying, my son being a bigot or racist. I'm an interracial family. My husband is African American. My kids are biracial. So despite my repeated requests to the START program and about on May 19th, 8 days afterwards, I was finally able to get a meeting with their supervisors. During that time, my child was excluded from normal participation from the program, and I was left with very limited information in regards to what was ever actually happening with the situation, and it didn't seem like any true processes were followed. Most importantly, the lack of transparency prevented me from doing what I should be doing as a parent and being diligent, being able to be remedial with my child and parent him. I was never provided enough information to actually have meaningful conversations with my child to try to walk him through or help support him in any way. We were muted and in turn left him wondering why these things are taking place. The lack of transparency and the lack of the conversations after the incident took place to address the specific behaviors or reinforce expectations, I was not able to do that with my child. I wasn't able to partner with the program or get any kind of guidance or try to help resolve any issues before it escalated. My son was not, um, I'm sorry, this is not my thing. Throughout this process, I repeatedly requested for transparency regarding the specific incidences, dates, and informations being relied upon to make decisions affecting my child because he was ultimately removed from the program. And even today, I have still not received sufficient clarity regarding what specifically led to the decision to dismiss my child from the program. Especially concerning is that I was informed by school administration that these concerns do not occur and are not occurring during the regular school day, and that there is no school day disciplinary actions or investigation taking place in regard to this manner. If alleged behaviors are isolated to the after school environment, I believe that this truly raises more important questions and concerns about what supports and supervisions are actually taking place, what interventions we're giving to children, and the behavioral management strategies being used by these programs. Strategies were not provided, and they decided to remove my child from the program. My child has a 504. My child's had a 504 for several years, starts aware of these accommodations, and yet I haven't received any kind of explanation as to how these accommodations were meant to support my child. The supports and interventions do not appear to have any kind of meaningful consideration before such a significant decision was made in regards to my child. I also had an unresolved staff issue, and the person who is supervising my child while these things are happening is the same staff member that these allegations were made against. I was so I was never notified of the concerns or the ongoing conflict. No steps were taken to make sure that none of this review or investigation was unbiased based off the situations that are happening. And my purpose tonight is not really to debate what truly happened or what the allegations are, but really to minimize student safety concerns. Every student just should be safe at school, regardless. My concern is really the process. Parents do deserve timely notification and transparency. They deserve many meaningful participation and confidence that the decisions that are being made and are affecting their children are being made fairly and with appropriate consideration and accommodations and supports. I respectfully ask the board to review the incidents involving how the district is helping these partner programs manage our students and how families are notified, how our 504 accommodations are actually being met. And I don't feel like any family should have to repeatedly ask for basic information to understand things that are taking place when such significant decisions are being made that impacts my child's well-being. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I feel pretty confident in saying that staff will be following up with you if that's okay. All right. Are there any additional comments? Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and now move on to reports. And we're going to go ahead and start with the Robla Education Foundation.
Good evening. I actually have some good news. I am pretty confident that we're going to be fully staffed this year. All my opening shifts are fully staffed. Closing shifts are pretty much fully staffed. I've got a couple of people that had said it, hey, I need to fill in for extra shifts because that don't get filled. Do that. Also have New York Life contact related to the community schools person over at Taylor, and he was here for the mental health fair and volunteered his foundation, the New York Life Foundation, to provide volunteers. All I have to do is let him know, hey, I need people for these particular days. He said he'll be more than happy to be able to provide them. Also, he indicated, although I'm a little iffy on that they'd actually pay us to work in our booth. So how that goes, that's
Nice.
nice, but it's
Favor is not fair.
I just look at it this standpoint that We've always run the foundation as strictly a volunteer thing. I don't pay you. With the money gets donated to whoever you designate in the
Mhm.
district. I don't get paid for any of
Right.
this, so it's one of them things. I'm a little, I'm old. I'm not used to people paying me to work in a position that's a volunteer position.
Mhm.
But if that's their policy, I'm not going to knock it.
There you go.
Looking forward to seeing all of you starting on the 28th of June. I'll start on the 27th. And by the way, the t-shirts have been ordered.
Sounds good. Okay, we'll now move on to Robla Teachers Association, CSEA, Superintendent's Report.
Good evening. I'll make it quick. It's been about a month, so I just want to summarize. We had open houses last month. I was able to attend Taylor, Bell, Robla, and Glenwood. Maine feels a little bit left out. Our string concert was wonderful. It was great to see our students, and we actually had one student participate in a piece playing off sheet music. I know that means something. I know that means that it's an advanced group. I'm looking at Miss Lyon, yes. This week we have our 6th grade promotions. Wednesday was Taylor's, today was Bell, and tomorrow we have Glenwood, Maine, and Robla. For tomorrow, Tuesday, we had a really fun volleyball tournament. Maine was packed. I want to thank everyone involved. It was a great experience for all our students. I know I'm competitive, but our teachers are competitive as well. So it was good. Summer school starts next week. We have Freedom School and ESY at Robla Elementary starting Monday. And then our program starts on Monday, the 22nd at Bell Avenue. And the last thing I'm super excited to share, our partnership with United Way is expanding. We are going to offer our first ever district back to school event in August. You probably are very familiar that United Way does a backpack giveaway, right? Their drive to collect all the donations is from June, oh, I can't remember. Oh, I should know, hold on. July 6th to August 2nd, right? And we are fortunate to be a district to benefit from that. They have agreed to provide backpacks for every single student, all the elementaries as well as preschool in our district, right? So a similar fair that we had last year at Glenwood, we will have it district-wide. It will be held August 11th at Main Avenue. So we will have resources, backpacks, supplies, wonderful. Super excited. You know, Ramon has a heads up in terms of working with them to plan this out, but super excited that they agreed to kind of host and pick Robla, our entire district, for this upcoming school year. So it will be in my message to staff and families that will go out tomorrow. We'll get more information in August as details come out. So that's the end of my report.
Now move on to board member reports. We'll start with Trustee Devine.
Nothing at this time.
All right, Trustee Cardona.
I guess we've been busy. Yeah, one of the highlight of the last week was participating in the Lion King play in Robla. It was phenomenal. The mask, the choreography, the background, it was great, and I would really enjoy that opportunity to be there. And they raising the bar every year. This is the third one they win, and they keep raising the bar, and every year it's getting better and better, which is great. We've been participating in a lot of these school graduations too. Tomorrow we have one more. We'll be there, and we also have part of the empowerment dinners that we didn't talk about it too. So yeah, we've been had 2 of our dinners and the board's dinner too. The food was great, and the attendance was great, and it was nice to share time with the community with them. Thank you.
Trustee Barnes.
As Superintendent Chen mentioned, we had our strings concert, and it was fantastic. And most of you know that my day job is with, for the public, I know you don't know this, my day job is with UC Davis, and I work in career services out there. One of the reasons why I ran for board is because I saw where kids ended up. I wanted to help them get there. And one of the coolest things about the strings concert is, of course, seeing our kids there, but I'm a firm believer that if you can see it, you can be it. And a lot of the instructors there are actual students at Sac State, including, there was one first-year student there that was actually leading our kids. And I absolutely love that because we're showing our kids, this is the path, this is where you can end up. And I absolutely love that. So I really enjoyed our strings concert and on several levels. And I think it's just a great, wonderful program. That's all I have.
Right. And I have nothing to report. Move on now to public hearings. Public hearing number 1A is public hearing 2026-27 Local Control and Accountability Plan. This hearing is now open.
Good evening. I just wanted to take a moment to share with the public some information about the Local Control Accountability Plan, so they're familiar, if not already familiar, with what this document represents. So the Local Control Accountability Plan is a very important document because it sets what a district's goals and priorities are, where we put value and where we put our attention. I'm going to refer to the Local Control Accountability Plan as the LCAP going forward. The LCAP is an important part of the state's local control funding formula. So essentially, from the local control funding formula, the model that lets districts make their decision about how they're going to use their funding that they receive. We receive four types of funding at our level. I'll speak to that shortly. But before I get into the funding, what you see in the local control about accountability plan is the districts has big overarching goals. Under these goals, we have actions and services to try to meet those goals. And then we present how we plan to spread our funding through these actions to accomplish the goals. And each action has to have a metric to measure its effectiveness and successfulness in meeting what it is intended to do. As I said, there's 3 or 4 different levels of funding. So you have your base funding, you have your grade level funding, which is for TK3, we receive additional funds on top of base funding. And then for your student populations, your low income, your English learner, your foster youth, you receive supplemental funding according to those numbers. And if those numbers of your low income, English learner and foster youth is above 55%, you receive an additional level of funding called concentration funds. Supplemental and concentration funds are to be spent to improve services for these 3 populations. I'm not going to get in a lot into our actual funding. Mr. Martin has a presentation on 26-27 budget, but basically our funding comes from our average daily attendance and our enrollment count, and then what our English learner count, our low income count is, and our foster youth count. So within the LCAP, we have 4 overarching broad goals. And you'll see we have a 5th goal, which I'll speak to as well. But our 4 goals have not changed. The LCAP is a 3-year plan, and we are in year 2, finishing up year 2 of that 3-year plan and moving into the 3rd final year of the plan. So these goals have not changed over these past 2 years. They will not change for next year. But each year we request feedback from our educational partners on how we're doing on these goals, on these actions and services. And some of the notable comments that were made by our educational partners was there was a lot of impact, how much they appreciated the field trip opportunities and assemblies that we provide for our students. The inclusion of the California Community Schools Partnership Program grant. Parent Square as our resource for everybody utilizing the same resource, for whether it's teacher, school site, and district. And then some other things that came up were parent opportunities. We talked about mostly from staff about not enough parent participation. And we've had some conversations about how do we increase parent participation. So we're have those ongoing conversations. There were some comments from the parents in regards to trying to bring back in-person English classes, as well as some interest in maybe having some Spanish classes for adults, since we do have a dual language immersion program with English-speaking parents in the program. And the other noteworthy was in regards to the facilities, student space and shade, not enough student space at some of the school sites, more shade structure. But these are items that are already, the board is well aware of, the district is well aware of, and already working on improvements in. So going forward, there are no major changes planned within the LCAP. We're sticking with the actions and services that we have currently had for the last 2 years, going into the third year of the LCAP. The one major difference is that there's a goal 5, which is related to what's called differentiated assistance. It's a state accountability, and it's related to how certain student groups are performing compared to other student groups. So there's a lot of information on this slide, but the bottom line is that we have exited out of differentiated assistance for chronic absenteeism for our long-term English learners and for academics for our long-term English learners. We've also exited out of it for our students with disabilities for chronic absenteeism and for suspension rates for homeless. However, we have a new identification for our students with disabilities for suspension rates and academics. So the actions and services here, the students with disabilities were already included in our actions and services in Goal 5, and so they're still included in those actions and services. We didn't have a need to change any of the actions and services, just made sure that we increased our accountability for the student group under the suspension rates and the academics. So as I said, no major changes. We're in year 2, heading into year 3. At the end of year 3, we'll start a whole new LCAP cycle.
Any questions? Hey, any additional?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any additional comments during LCAP? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries unanimously. Now move on to item B, public hearing 2026-27 proposed annual budget. This hearing is now open.
Good evening, everyone. As Ms. Lyon referenced, I am here to present the proposed annual budget for the district for 26-27. Tonight, it is being presented for you all to review, and then you'll vote to adopt at the meeting on the 25th. As always, I start out with a slide showing you or reminding you of the budgeting and reporting timeline. And here's where we are at June meeting number 1, and this is the public hearing. Some things to remember while we're talking about this. This is a very conservative budget. It's based on what we know at the time, and it is subject to change as we get further along in the adoption of the governor's budget process. The budget package has not been signed yet, so this is mainly based on what we learned at the May revised presentation. And if between now and adoption of the budget, there is any major changes, the district has the opportunity or the option to do what's called a 45-day revised budget or an August budget. I always include a slide of acronyms. All of these you've seen, or I'm not going to read through them. But But what I will point out are there are two new ones I'm adding, and those are the last two: paid pregnancy disability leave, and that last one is is such a mouthful. I have a friend at School Services of California who says it's so much to say that they just call it the speed bug.
What do they call it?
Yeah,
Speed bug.
speed bug. Yeah,
All right.
similar words.
That sounds great.
If you hear me say speed bug, I'm
Sounds
talking
good.
about that.
Okay.
There are several highlights from the May revise, the first one being the COLA, cost of living adjustment. At the time of the January budget, let me start over. When they are determining the COLA, there are 8 data points they use to determine the COLA. And at the time of the January budget, they didn't have all 8 data points, but based on the data points they had at that time, they came up with the governor came up with what he called an estimated COLA of 2.41%. By the time we got to the May revise, all 8 data points had come in. So the COLA was now a statutory COLA, and it came in at 2.87%. The governor also decided to do an additional LCF investment into the COLA of an additional 1.44%. So that created what's known as an augmented COLA or a super COLA of 4.31. Now that's not a free and clear 4.31% because what's interesting about this additional investment is that the governor earmarked it to help cover the cost associated with PPDL, the paid pregnancy disability leave that I just mentioned in the other slide. Some things to remember or to know about this is that it allows for full pay up to a maximum of 14 weeks. And it can start before the lady gives birth, and it can continue past birth. The employee and the doctor determine the length of the leave. It can be any length of time they determine, as long as it doesn't go over 14 weeks. And you don't have to be at your place of employment at your district for a certain amount of time to qualify. You can be there a month and you qualify for the 14 weeks. Finally, it's not taken out of any accrued leave you may already have. It is a separate bucket of leave. Next, we have huge changes in proposed special education funding. And if I can be a little biased as a special ed parent, this was very nice to hear and to see. At the January budget presentation, the governor proposed increasing spending by $509 million. By the time we got to May revise, he had upped it to $2.4 billion. 43% increase in funding. In January, he proposed that the base rate be $9.99 per ADA, and it was $9.17. By May, he upped it from $9.99 to $1,340 per ADA. And obviously, this could free up significant resources in the general fund. Because as everyone knows, a district special ed program can't run without a contribution from the general fund. If this additional funding gets approved and passed by the legislature, that could have domino effect ramifications in a good way for the general fund.
Are there any estimations as to the likelihood of that passing?
I've heard that they are going to try and do their damnedest to get it passed as fully as he's proposing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's written in stone. In the past, this has probably been one of the areas that was the first to get changed, but what I've heard is that this time they're going to try and keep it as full as possible.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I'm sorry, this is on the PPD. Sorry, I was trying to look up more information on that. Is that specific to, does that also apply to spouses?
No.
No,
No? Okay, so it's very, okay.
very specific. So the next item is the Literacy Coaches and Reading Specialist Grant. This is a grant that we have here at Robla at one of our sites. The governor is proposing an additional $428.8 million to existing grantees. He's proposing to extend the encumbrance period an additional 2 years to June 30th of 2031. He's also proposing to include $11.2 million for training educators to become literacy coaches. And what's interesting about this one is that existing grantees, if they choose to, can opt out of these additional funds. This is only available to people who already have the grant funding. There are no new applications. And last but not least, we have Speedbug, the Student Support and Professional Development Discretionary Block Grant. A one-time investment of $5.1 billion. In January, he had proposed it at 2.8, so he almost doubled it between January and May. The funds would be distributed on a per ADA basis, and we would have until June 30th of 2030 to spend the funds. It is fully discretionary. However, the governor's recommending he's recommending several areas of focus, but he is leaving it up to the districts to make the final determination on how the funds are spent. He's suggesting things such as PD, recruitment and retention, and the all-encompassing rising costs. Legislature, there are some challenges with this because, for example, like it says there, the legislature has suggested other ways for allocating the funds. For example, they are recommending that maybe we want to include the UPP in the formula for determining who gets the funds rather than just doing it on a per ADA basis. And some members of the legislature are also suggesting restricting the use of at least some of the funds, not making it fully discretionary. Well, now we'll get into the meat and the potatoes of the district's budget. Before I forget, school site budgets, I'm sorry. The allocation for school sites for 26-27 is $479,539. This is money that is set aside for the following areas. I won't read through all of them, but this has not changed from, the areas have not changed from this year, but the amount did go up slightly. In terms of the 26-27 budget itself, in terms of revenue, general fund revenue, here is how the revenue sources are split out. In terms of dollars, you have LCFF sources of just over $30 million, federal sources of just under $1.5 million, state resources or state sources at just over $11.5 million, and local is just over $2 million. The total proposed revenue budget is $45,190,404. In terms of expenditures, that's how the pie is divided up. Certificated salaries are at $15.5 million, classified at just over $7 million, benefits at just over $11 million, books and supplies at just over $2 million, services and other operating expenditures, excuse me, are just under $11 million. Capital outlay is $215,000 for a total of $46,977,696. I would think it's important to mention that in the 26-27 budget, salaries and benefits comprise approximately 71.88% of total expenditures. But as I've talked about before, the lion's share of a district's salaries and benefits are in the unrestricted side of the house, the unrestricted budget. If you look at just the unrestricted budget, it's 83.44% of the unrestricted budget. Before we look at the MYP, there are three assumptions I wanted to put out there. They include a 2% increase for certificated and classified step and column advancement. They include, bless you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. They include accounting for anticipated changes in STRS and PERS rates. And then they include a 10% increase for utilities in both of the out years, 27-28 and 28-29. That said, here's a very condensed, very summary MYP for 26-27 and the two out years.
What are your assumptions based on enrollment?
We
for
used
ADA?
we used a what they call it, a cohort survival method, and we are projecting slight increases in enrollment.
What's slight?
I believe we are projecting an increase of about 30 some odd, high 30s, low 40s. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but we look at the history of, say, when first grade moves to second grade and so forth, and making up numbers, obviously, but if you go back and you look at, say, the last 5 years, right? And first grade to second grade, say you lose 10% of your students for whatever reason. We look at this year's first grade class, move them down to second grade, and then take off 10%.
Mhm.
We do that for each.
What's been our enrollment changes over the last, say, 3 years?
Sorry?
What have been our enrollment changes over the last 3 years,
Over the last 3 years.
or 3 years?
I know coming into this year, we had a slight increase. We're projecting that to continue.
Mhm.
Before that, which was before my time, but before that, I believe there was a slight decrease.
Okay.
There are certain things that make up, well, let me go back for a second. If you see at the very bottom there, the ending fund balance amounts, you look at those ending fund balance amounts, there are certain things that make up that ending fund balance total. And there are each of them for 26, 27 and the 2 out years. You'll see that there are 4 different colors on each bar, yet there are 5 labels down at the bottom. The one that you can't see is the non-spendable, and that's because it's so small relative to everything else. It's only $7,000, but it's there. It's part of the calculation. And I think, a couple things are very important to notice here, is that the overall fund balance is projected to decrease. And if you look at that very top, that thin gray section, that's the unassigned fund balance, or the unassigned portion of the fund balance, and that's projected to decrease as well. Moving forward, we need to be mindful of our expenditures, because that's going to affect any deficit spending that the district undergoes or encounters. We need to look at ways to address deficit spending and structural deficit issues. Deficit spending and structural deficits are 2 different things. To give you an example, I'm going to talk about a school budget, but if, for example, if the school district gets $20 million in revenue and this year, and then they spend, say, $21 million, that's deficit spending. If they get back on track in the following year, that's deficit spending for this year. But if year after year after year after year after year, that doesn't change, that's indicative of a structural deficit. Once the final effects of the budget package are done, and once the budget package is voted on, then we'll make any changes in terms of additional revenues or expenditures into the district budget. Once the beginning balances and various resources are confirmed, we'll adjust those budgets accordingly. And then I'll get ready to start working on the 25-26 audited actuals. So looking at it in terms of a timeline, we're presenting the budget and the LCAP tonight. And then next, on the 25th, we'll have the adoption meeting. The LCAP and the budget go to SCOE in July. August, the 26-27 school year begins. September, we'll present the unaudited actuals to the board. November is when I begin work on first interim, which is then presented in December. January, excuse me, in January, we get our first look at the governor's 27-28 budget presentation. And in February, we get 2 things. We get the annual audit, the financial audit is presented to the board, and then I'll start work on the second interim report, which is then presented in March. And then in May, we have the governor's May revised presentation, the 8 budget. With that, I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Any questions?
No questions, just what we already knew. I'm grateful for the better news, but still have an over $8 million deficit that we have to make up for. I'm glad that we've been responsible in the past and built up a healthy reserve, but we can't rely on that.
Now, I'm noticing from 26, 27 to 27, 28 on the summary MYP
Down.
general fund, I'm noticing that there's a significant decrease from 26, 27 to 27, 28, and then an increase then from 28 to 29. Can you explain that? There you go.
Okay, so I'm sorry, you're talking about
So from 26 to 27, you say total revenues.
right, it goes from 45.1 down to 44 and then back up.
Right.
So from 26, 27, 27, 28, you lose a good bit of one-time revenue. And then 27, 28 to 28, 29, that one-time revenue is out, but the COLA and the projected change in enrollment result in an increase in the overall revenue that the district receives. Decrease from 26, 27 to 27, 28 is because of mainly the removal of one-time revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Carryovers that have been fully spent won't roll over into the following.
Mm-hmm. So you're anticipating then a COLA from 27, 28. What is that COLA you're anticipating?
The COLA in 27, 28, 26, 27 is the super COLA, 27, 28. If I remember correctly, it's it's high twos or low threes. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then 28, 29 is about the same, but maybe a bit lower. I want to say it's in the 2.5 to 3.0. I don't remember the exact percent.
Yeah, I would say probably then the only concern that I have, once again, is I just echo the concerns of Trustee Barnes. Obviously, we can't continue to deficit spend. And so one of the things we've got to do is start to look at what are ways in which we can address that. And obviously, looking at 27, 28, I mean, we need to start making those decisions, start looking at those things going into or over this next year. One of the other concerns that I have is, at one point, Robla experienced like 8 years of consecutive declining enrollment. And one of the concerns I had when I first got on the board was they were still anticipating, although moderate, they were modest, they were still anticipating growth. That anticipation in growth causes an increase in anticipated revenue. And unfortunately, when that growth didn't come, that means that revenue didn't come. I for one, believe until we see a pattern of enrollment increase, I'm more comfortable with an assumption of zero growth, if not negative growth, only because we just don't know. And it's always better to be safe than sorry. I'm assuming that based on that, if we were to make that assumption, that would change these numbers, probably not significantly, but at least substantively.
There would be a change, absolutely.
Okay.
If you went to a keeping enrollment flat, sure, it would affect the numbers.
Okay. Well, I don't know that I would say we need to necessarily make a change for this budget, but we definitely need to keep an eye on it. And if those increases for this upcoming year, as anticipated, don't happen, future budget years, I would definitely say we definitely need to be looking at a flatter estimate of enrollment increase.
And that is something that districts do. I mean, a lot of districts will do that.
Okay. Other than that, very detailed. I like the way you broke everything out. I love the way that you explained everything, in particular just kind of how you broke out how things are spent. It's really good for us to know where the money is going. It's nice to know that, overwhelmingly, most of it's going into the classroom.
Well, like I said, and that's why I think it's important when you look at the expenditures, and right here, if you were to just look at that graph and you just look at certificated salaries, classified salaries, and benefits, that's the 71.88%. What the generic you needs to understand is that graph is unrestricted and restricted line.
Right.
And like I've said in the past, and not just in this district, in any district, the majority of salaries and benefits are in unrestricted. And so if you look at just the unrestricted, if you did an unrestricted graph,
right,
you would see the 83.44. There is no set rule, of course, but I would say that to have that percentage between 80 and 85 is pretty expected. I've seen districts that are over 90.
We were at over 90 at one point.
Really?
At one point, we were up around 90, and it was largely because we had a lot of long-term employees who were close to retirement, and yeah, it was definitely a budget challenge, shall we say?
No, I mean, in my opinion, 83.44 is comfortable.
It's good.
Is good.
Yeah. Okay. Any additional questions or comments? Thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding the 26-27 annual 26-27 proposed annual budget? Nope. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Move on to the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Now on to section 7, policies, regulations, and/or exhibits. And we have, first one up, we have first reading, policy 5131.8, mobile communication devices. Like to speak to this?
Just real quick, by July 1, 2026, LEAs are required to have a policy that limits the use of smartphones. And so this, excuse me, this policy, you'll see it's all green, so we adopted CSBA language.
Thank you for stating that.
Any additional questions?
No, so moved. Whatever.
Oh, we don't have to take action on it. This is just first reading. One thing I will note is
Sorry, yeah, okay.
I appreciate the wisdom of the legislature of, our legislature sometimes can be very heavy-handed and just say, you will do this. What I appreciate is the fact that they said, look, this is an issue you have to address. And so they've given every district an opportunity to address it. If there are those of you out there in the public who would like, I would encourage you to review the policy. If you'd like a more restrictive policy, let us know. If you'd like a more permissive policy, let us know. And we will definitely take it under advisement. But now is your time to review the policy just as we are reviewing the policy.
Yes, and just one last comment, and I'm really glad Superintendent Chen mentioned that this did come from CSBA, so it does have that added bit of credibility of being researched and something that is very applicable.
Just real quick, just a note, have we had issues with cell phone or cell phone usage?
We have not.
Okay. My understanding in talking with some other board members with other districts, it generally is an issue that's more, it starts in middle school and escalates once they get to high school, but generally in most of their primary schools or elementary schools, it's generally not an issue. Okay, with that, we'll move on to section 8, presentations and information. And we will start with item A, the 26-27 Math Pilot Program Implementation and Core Curriculum Framework Selection.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Chen, and audience. I'm here to talk to you about the math pilot that we're bringing to Robla District next school year. I want to thank our wonderful partners, SCOE. They really helped us move our work forward this year with our 3 meetings that we had with them. I want to in particular thank Kristen Northrup, the SCOE Director of Mathematics and Science. She really helped us out throughout this school year. These are the things that they helped us with this year. Math fair in December and what we were to expect that day with our teams. They helped us create an adoption timeline for next school year. We worked on a rubric. We had a lot of resources given to us through SCOE, and we came up with a rubric and how to narrow vendors down with that rubric. We talked about parent and teacher and student surveys throughout the school year next year with the pilot. We also talked about giving access of materials to the public. They were also wonderful thought partners. Kristen was available to me on phone calls and Zooms anytime I wanted to, and she was just a tremendous support. To our committee, we had 2 principals involved in the work. We had 2 directors and 9 teachers. Things we considered across the district, which we should, was the DLI program, our AL students, special education students, the different grade levels that we have, and of course, all of our schools. So we used a rubric on the top 4 vendors that we looked at. It took a full 3 days, and I want to thank the teachers for taking all of that time off of their teaching. It took 3 days for us to thoroughly and carefully look at the materials with the rubric, and then we came up with the decision, which was not easy to do with that many people. But we did, and we talked it through, and we came up with Imagine IM, and we came up with Eureka Squared. Imagine I Am will be piloted in trimester 1, which is about 12 weeks, and Eureka Squared will be in trimester 2, which is about the same amount of time for 12 weeks. The teachers will cover curriculum and cover certain units and standards in that trimester, just as we do right now. We do in trimester 1 and trimester 2. We have certain standards that we need to cover. They're going to do that with this curriculum that we see right up here. There will be a midpoint check-in where we'll talk and discuss things and about 6 weeks in to discuss how things are going. We'll be talking about the feedback that we'll be collecting from the teachers and the parents and the students. Once that's completed for both the vendors, so we'll do another 12 weeks with the other one, the second semester. We will do the exact same thing. We'll do a midpoint check for that one as well. And then once we're done with all of that, we're going to meet on March 15th, where teachers will come to some consensus with the vendors that supported the students the best and had the best good academic outcomes. I will most likely think that they would need a half day of subs for that work because that's going to be a pretty robust conversation of who we're choosing. As you can see here, we have the X's are all the teachers that are in this pilot. It's quite a few teachers for a pilot, but we wanted to make sure that all the schools had a voice in what we were doing and what we were going to choose. This was all voluntary. So the teachers that are those X's, everybody said, I want to volunteer to do this work next school year. I think I asked one teacher to help out in SDC because we didn't have an SDC representative and we did have RSP for special ed. But everybody else on that map is somebody who volunteered. So that's why you see a little bit heavier on Robla. They just decided to do more volunteering over at Robla, and some schools didn't want to do that. So that's why we have that many teachers in Robla and Glenwood. And actually, Dr. Dre asked if she could put more of her DLI team on there. Yes.
Will the same teachers be doing it for both semesters? So
Yes.
they'll be
Yes.
able to compare it for us?
Sorry?
They'll be able to compare the programs
Yeah,
for
they're
us?
all going to be doing the first one, which is Imagine I Am, and then they're all going to do the second one, Eureka Squared.
Okay.
So you're going to do 2 different curriculums during the same year?
That's correct.
One semester
So
or
not a full year of the curriculum?
We're going to do one semester, full semester of one for each,
Okay,
which is something that most districts do.
okay.
I actually like that idea because it's the same teachers and the same students.
Well, this was also like 2 that we were really interested in, and we were kind of going back and forth, and we liked them both. And so they said, can we do them both? And I said, sure. I mean, we want to make the right decision here.
Mhm.
So they were happy that we were going to do 2 of them. So this is what it looks like next school year.
Real quick question.
Yes.
I love the distribution here. I see that you have, for the most part, at least 2 teachers from every site for 2 teachers for every grade, with the exception of 3rd grade. You have both teachers from the same place. Any concerns with that?
We still have 2 teachers. I don't have concern with them because I know those 2 teachers very well. I think that they will represent the district extremely well across the board. And these are teacher leaders that have been with us in TCI and done some work with us already. So I think they will be just fine. So in August, we're going to do some professional learning for these teachers that are going to do the pilot. Of course, they need to be trained on the materials for student materials and the materials for the teachers. We're going to do a public viewing of the materials in the boardroom in August as well. In September, we'll do the math pilot for the Imagine I Am. In October and November, we'll do some check-ins, do the midpoints that I spoke of. Thank you. In January, we'll do the math pilot for Eureka. February and March, we'll do those once again, the check-ins with the surveys of parents and the students and the mid check-ins. And then in March and April, we'll make that difficult choice. I think I said it was March 15th, somewhere around there, that we'll get together and do that with all the committee. And then in April and May, we'll take it to the board for approval.
I would love to,
Questions?
I guess I don't really expect an answer tonight, but I'd love to know more about the implementation process. And so after April, May of 2027. And I'm asking that because of what we just saw with the budget. I'd love to know more about how much this will cost to implement, and I want to know. I want to look forward.
For the cost of the implementation
Yeah.
and the cost of the materials and training and all of that.
Mhm.
That will probably, in my estimation, probably be done in the fall or the winter time, because we have to see where the enrollment shakes out and where the teachers are, and then we can give the vendor that kind of information. Right now, we're in a different time. So when we come into the new school year, we'll have everything known with the teachers and where they are, what combos we have, the enrollment we have. The vendors generally take 2 days to give us a quote. It's not very difficult for them to do that, and they are more than happy to do it when they're going to get paid out very big time for the pilot if we give it to them. So they will give us it very quickly. So if you want it in the fall, we can easily do that.
In the past, how much has implementing a new program like this cost?
I'm not sure. I know it's a lot of money. 300,000, 500,000, around those zones.
Now I know that the State Board of Education, their standards is they recommend not doing algebra until 9th grade. I'm wondering, my only concern is that, do we make sure these providers account for, because I know they didn't mandate that you couldn't do algebra before 9th grade. So we want to make sure that for our students who are prepared to do for accelerated math, because I remember at one point at Norwood, they actually were doing, I think, algebra for 7th. I mean, some of our students went in, I think they were doing pre-algebra or algebra in the 7th grade, algebra in the 8th grade, and then geometry when they finally got to the 9th grade. And I only say that to make sure that that these curriculums will accommodate students who are able to be accelerated in math.
Totally agree. And you mentioned that in the past, so I looked into that too. They will have algebra.
Perfect. Any additional questions or comments?
If I could just make a comment, if there's ever an opportunity to prepare our students to take geometry in the 8th grade, that's what we need to do.
Yeah. I agree. I very much agree. By the way, I really want to appreciate you laying this process out ahead of time. It's really helpful for us to know everything that went into. It's one thing when it comes to us and then we find out everything that went into it. It's really cool to know what's going into it before. So to actually be a part of that process.
Yeah, I do have a working document that I'm going to leave with you. It's a little bit more robust, but it's still, like I said, a working document. So I just want to share it with you tonight, just so you get even more of a process of how it looks for next school year. And then I'll give one to the audience.
Okay.
When you guys pick one, will we get like examples of what the program looks like and how the students can interact with it? Okay,
Yes.
that would be great for the final decision
Of course.
presentation.
I just want to say kudos and how proud I am of everybody who volunteered to be a part of this. It's one thing to have to learn and implement a brand new curriculum. I mean, in particular for someone who has to do multi-subject, to learn a brand new curriculum, but then to have to do 2 in 1 year. I really appreciate you being willing to step up and pilot that.
We're very proud of these teachers and the time they're investing into this work. It's a lot.
Yeah. Any additional questions or comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to action items. Item A, approve and adopt 5-year district facilities master plan for 2026 through 2031.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. No discussion? Quick question. So is this a 5-year rolling master plan? So every year we'll approve it with updates?
That is what I recommend,
Okay.
yes.
Just wanted
That
to-
we review it every year.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to make sure that that was part of the process. I really appreciate the information that is in it, is very reflective of the meeting that we had. And I think the priorities that were communicated both by the board and by the community. You know, putting together the master plan is not an easy thing. Making sure it happens is an even harder thing. So let's put that same level of effort, if not more, into making it actually happen. Any additional comments? Any additional debate or discussion? Hearing none, we will move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item B, elect 2026 School and Community College District Representative for the Sacramento County Treasury Oversight Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Would you like to explain to us? Because we've never had this before.
No, totally. And this is a first. So
Yes.
the county has a representative from the School and Community College District that represents us as districts through the Treasury Oversight Committee. Last year, or the re-elected individual was Sean Martin from Folsom, Cordova. So this year they're doing elections again, and so the two individuals that are being up in ballot is Sean Martin from Folsom and Chris from Sac City, Unified.
Okay.
And this is the first time that we as a district have the opportunity to vote. They didn't really get much from the county, but here's a ballot.
I wish I had known so I could research the candidates.
Well-
There is a candidate statement, right? But there's not really much detail as what the individual really does, or
Yeah.
they're part of a
Well,
committee
I
for
looked at
the
those, but yeah.
county, but there's not much detail.
I will be honest with you. I would, me personally, I don't know either individual, but I do know the fiscal conditions of the two districts.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
if I were a betting man,
Mhm.
I would
Money big.
I would probably say the representative from Folsom Cordova is probably in a better position to talk about or to represent us in a way that is fiscally responsible. Once again, I don't know. So I will hear the will of the body.
I agree.
Do I have a motion to support one candidate or the other?
I'm abstaining.
I move that we support Sean Martin.
I
Is it-
support Sean Martin.
Okay, so I'll take that as a second.
Yep.
Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion
Aye.
carries 3-0-1. Sean Martin.
I can't vote for somebody I don't,
Hmm.
haven't looked into.
Okay, item C, approve consultant professional services contract with TSE Construction for the Classroom 22 renovation project at Maine Elementary.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved to second.
So last month, we brought to you a contract for C Construction to do the library renovation at Maine Elementary. This is for the third of the three classrooms. The plan is to renovate it, reconfigure it, and make it more of a multi-use area, a multi-use room. The renovation includes new flooring, new windows, making it more ADA compliant. We did solicit bids, and C Construction again was determined to be the lowest responsible bidder.
Seems like a reasonable amount.
Yep.
Any additional discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item D, approve the 2026-27 school plan for student achievement.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Principals presented at the last meeting.
Yes. So I just wanted to say I really appreciated, once again, and I said this during the presentations, but I want to say it again. I really appreciated how every administrator focused on, first and foremost, looking at the data, applying it to our goals, and then actually developed tools and a plan that actually was specific to the issues and the concerns they had. They were also very realistic with where they were, the areas where there were challenges, and the areas where they felt like they were having successes, and talked about the things they need to do to continue the successes and address the challenges. And anyway, just I know that a lot of work went into that. And just wanted to say that very much appreciate it and look forward to seeing these plans actually be achieved. Any additional discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item E, approve 2026-27 service agreement with Touch of Understanding for district-wide student workshops on social, emotional development and inclusive practices.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion.
So A Touch of Understanding is an organization of volunteers that come out to our school sites and share with our students. Generally, we work with third, fourth, fifth grade students on learning about what it's like to live with a disability. So they have representatives that come out, and the students have workshops. They might learn to see what it would be like to go through the world on a daily basis if you're blind. What would it be like to navigate in a wheelchair? What would it be like to be dyslexic? And they have actual individuals who share their experiences, as well as give students the opportunity of kind of living in their shoes. We've worked with them for several years now, and we pretty much have all school sites. We have one school site that hasn't picked a date. So the contract we're asking for is for all 5 sites, but we have dates picked for 4 sites. And we're doing it at this point in time because A Touch of Understanding is very popular, and you got to get your name in there quickly in order to get a date for the next school year.
Any additional discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item F, approve 2026-27 Teacher Induction Program MOU with Sacramento County Office of Education.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Just appreciate SCOE and that they offer this. I believe it's quite helpful. All right. Any additional discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item G, approve 2026-27 service agreement with Marzano Resources LLC for professional development of the district's instructional model.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Is there any discussion or debate?
Yes.
Are we waiting on a presentation? Should be playing the Jeopardy theme, Jeopardy song for those waiting at home.
Do, 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 do. Oh, sorry.
There we go.
Get in there. Okay, thank
Are we
you.
starting?
Thank you, gentlemen. So this school year, 25-26, we did the instructional model with Dr. McGee. We did that 3 times this year, one in August, one in November, and one in March. For August, we looked at the domain areas of direct instruction and engagement, and she targeted 18 strategies. In November, we targeted the same thing, and she did another 15 strategies for us. And in March, we did using assessments and deepening lessons, and she gave us 17 strategies that day. I want you to know that most of these strategies that she does are a little bit more complex. That's why we had her do the training for us. As I spoke to you, and last year we have 333 strategies in this book. A lot of them, the teachers can just open up the book and do on their own. They're not needed to be trained on a lot of these strategies, but these are the ones that are a little bit more complex that really help out children in their learning. So we picked those for her to cover with us this school year. Thank you. The staffs were very, very excited about what she brought to the table and the instructional model this year. I just want you to read some of the testimonials. I don't see this very often with staff surveys. She was 80% all year long and getting 4s and 5s out of 5. That I never see. It's generally a lot lower than that. She also had a lot of 3s, but most of that was 4 and 5s. 80% is very high when you're talking to staffs and them being excited about the work that we're introducing for the trainer. So Dr. McGee's doing a great job. Next slide. And there she is right there. Read some of those because teachers were very excited to have her. We had principal walkthroughs this year with the instructional model. On average, teachers use 13 to 12 strategies in a visit. Now, some people say 12 strategies. Is that even possible in one visit? There could be four strategies they use, and they used it multiple times. But in that, whenever they saw that, they saw them utilizing some strategies 12 times in a lesson, which is quite a bit. Most of the visits ranged from principals 10 to 30 minutes. We wanted no less than 10 minutes. Most of them were around 20, they said. Principals gave feedback on the instructional model strategies that they saw to their teachers. And then, of course, we collaborated and discussed their walkthroughs at cabinet level. Once again, we had peer observations this year. I want to give kudos to the PLSTs for doing that work, allowing teachers to leave the classrooms to observe their partners and discuss the strategies that they were utilizing. They took notes about the lessons, and then they got an opportunity to debrief the lesson with their PLST and a teacher that saw the lessons. They also talked about the instructional model strategies and the outcomes they had with their children in the PLCs and grade levels. And we also had principals do some of that work in their PLCs at the site level. So we hope to see some of this work show dividends in some of our scores that are coming up very soon at the end of June, I believe, for the CASP. So what do we hope for next year? I wanted her to come back 3 times, but we're going to get her for actually 1. She's going to have a colleague one of her colleagues is going to do the other one because she was already booked. If she ends up not doing that one thing, she'll come do it for us. But right now she was booked on one of those. So for November 30th and March 8th, she'll be at one of those, and then her colleague will do the other one. I was going to do it in August as well, but we have Amplify, the data system and benchmark system that we're bringing in. We're going to be doing the training with the whole staff in August. So that's what we're hoping to move this work forward next school year.
I'll tell you, after the PLCs did their presentation, I actually took some time to, had not heard of Marzano learning strategies, kind of did a deep dive into it. And I'm excited, and I'm excited not only that, because I think it's something that's going to be really effective, as our staff has already noted, it works really well. But to have a trainer that's coming in that is very well received is a benefit as well.
Yes.
Any additional discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right, item H. Approve 2026-27 Expanded Learning Opportunities Program contract for ELOP for Right at School.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Yes. I just want to give some context of how the district determines enrollment projections for our ELOP programming. So what I'm going to do is just walk through really briefly what our steps are and then what our projections are for the next school year. So first, we pull current year enrollment at each site. As a tier 1 district, we have to provide services to any family that wants to register in the ELOP programs. Second, we compare the demand against each site's actual capacity, physical space, and staffing ratios. Third, we project forward using this year's enrollment as the baseline and adjusting for expected changes in ELOP funding. And fourth, those projections become the contracted spots per site, which is what you'll see written in the vendor service agreements. So every number on the next slide is grounded in real enrollment data. And something that's been super beneficial this school year is the use of an information system, certificates that we use for our expanded learning programs. And that has been a game changer in providing true, accurate data about attendance and ADAs.
Mhm.
So as you see on this slide, on the left-hand side, you see the school site, you see the before school program, which is our school program that operates 45 minutes before the first bell. And then in the middle, you'll see after school, and on the right, you'll see intercession. And just some background, our before school AM program actually started at 20 per school site. And as you see here is what we ended at the end of the school year. So we saw a huge change from 100 to 234, which is great. So we see that our families are getting the services they need. And next year, we've projected 250 overall from the district. In regards to after-school programming, you see that we had 940 active enrollments. So we projected 970, with the biggest increase being at Glenwood for an additional 19 spots. Intercession, even though it's not held at Maine or wasn't held at Maine this school year, we kept it consistent with that 140 projected because we had a great ADA this school year, almost double than last year's. Just really quickly, I want to kind of give an example of how we allocate spots to our partners and our subcontractors. I'll go ahead and use Maine as an example. The City of Sacramento START has a current service agreement which covers the following school year, so we can automatically take out 100 from that 178, as you see there, that we allocated, or 180, apologies, that we projected for the next school year. So that leaves us with 80. In this current service agreement, we're pushing forward. 40 is going to go to Right at School, and the other 40 has been offered to another vendor that's on our approved vendor list, and we're waiting to finalize the details in that contract and push that forward. You might ask, what if we have increased demand of any of these programs, right? We have a couple options to kind of see where that can fall out. The first option would be reaching out to current vendors in an equitable manner to see how we can increase their current contracts, or we can also consider adding in another vendor from our approved list to increase them or just get them started within the district.
Okay.
Yeah, any questions?
Thank you. I actually had several questions. You answered them also. Very good presentation. Thank you.
Real quick, so if we, for example, agree to an amount, then that's the amount that we're contracting, that's the amount that we're paying for. So if we wind up agreeing with, for example, a contractor for 40 students and they only get 30 or 20, we're still paying for the 40, right?
Well, we look at the 1-to-20 ratio.
Right.
So 21, if they
Mhm.
get 21, we're paying for 40.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and it becomes, a bit difficult to kind of project as well because for TK and Kinder, that 1-to-10 ratio. And then some programs have minimums, right? For example, as you see, like Bell Avenue, has 24. They have to staff for 30. It doesn't cost us anything more, but kind of we have to open those spots up.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to do is I want to make sure that people understand that when we're looking at these, if we over project, and then we're kind of committed for the over, but on the under, we can always add if more students wind up showing up, I guess is my point.
Yeah, and that's why we really are conservative, looking at actual numbers from this school year and being very conservative for next year.
Right. The best projector of future results or past results. Okay. Any additional questions or comments? Any additional discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Now we'll move on to board member requests for future agenda items or reports. Start with Trustee Devine.
Nothing at this time?
Trustee Cardona.
Nothing this time.
Trustee Barnes.
This isn't a full request. It's more of a planting the seed. I've been, I really enjoyed our master plan, yes, workshop. I had worksheet stuck in my head. Workshop. And I thought it would be really nice to, try to do something similar, but at the actual sites. So, I've been talking with Superintendent Shannon, trying to figure out how to do this, but it would be nice to be able to go and visit sites and have a workshop there. I'm not proposing it for the summer because it's way too hot. So unless we do it like in the morning or something like that. But I thought it might be really a good idea to actually walk the sites and see them close while we have people that can actually answer questions.
I like that idea. Okay. And anything else? Nope. And I have nothing. So with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so very much.